The alarm screamed through the command fortress of the Dalveen Empire. High Commander Vrelix burst into the war room, his 4 eyes blazing with fury. Around him, officers scrambled to their stations, their chittering voices filled with panic. "Show me," Vrelix demanded, his mandibles clicking rapidly. The main display flickered to life, showing a massive human battleship moving through Dalveen space. The vessel was alone, impossibly deep behind enemy lines. It had crossed 3 defensive perimeters without firing a single weapon. The ship's identifier read, "Indomitable." "How did it get past our fleets?" Vrelix roared. The intelligence officer trembled. "We do not know, Commander. It simply appeared on our sensors an hour ago. Every patrol we send, it vanishes before they arrive." Vrelix stared at the display. Humans were clever, but this was different. This was madness. 1 ship against an entire empire? It made no sense. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Taemin sat perfectly still in his command chair. His dark eyes watched the screens showing Dalveen patrol patterns. His crew worked in tense silence around him. They had been running silent for 3 days now, and the stress showed on every face. Lieutenant Ji Woo turned from her tactical station. "Captain, we have 6 destroyers converging on our last position. They will realize we are not there in approximately 4 minutes." Taemin nodded slowly. "Helm, prepare to adjust course. Take us through the asteroid field at grid 774. The helmsman hesitated. "Sir, that field is extremely dense. 1 mistake, and we will be torn apart." "I am aware," Taemin said calmly. "Execute." Ji Woo stood and walked to his chair. She lowered her voice, so only he could hear. "Captain, the crew deserves to know what we are doing here. We crossed into enemy territory 3 days ago without orders. If we are caught, they will tear this ship apart with us inside." Taemin looked at her. His face showed nothing. "Do you trust me, Lieutenant?" "Yes, sir, but..." "Then trust me now. Return to your station." Ji Woo's jaw tightened, but she obeyed. She had served under Taemin for 5 years. He had never led them wrong before. But this felt different. This felt like suicide. The Indomitable slipped into the asteroid field like a ghost. Rocks the size of buildings tumbled past the hull, missing by mere meters. The helmsman's hands shook as he guided them through the chaos. 1 wrong move, and they would die. Behind them, the Dalveen destroyers reached the empty space where they expected to find the human ship. They searched and found nothing. Frustrated and confused, they spread out, looking for any trace of the mysterious vessel. In the Dalveen command fortress, Vrelix paced back and forth. "What is the human doing? Why is it here?" Subcommander Rixall stepped forward. He was younger than Vrelix, with sharper features and calculating eyes. "Perhaps it carries a weapon, Commander. A bomb meant to destroy our capital world. Then why has it not moved toward the capital? It travels deeper into the frontier territories, away from our important worlds." Rixall had no answer to that. None of them did. The human ship's behavior made no tactical sense whatsoever. "Deploy the 3rd and 5th battle fleets," Vrelix ordered. "I want that ship found and destroyed. No human vessel will make fools of us." "Yes, Commander," Rixall said, but doubt flickered in his eyes. The Indomitable emerged from the asteroid field intact. The crew breathed collective sighs of relief. Taemin allowed himself the smallest smile. His gamble had paid off. The Dalveen would expect him to avoid dangerous areas. By going through them instead, he stayed ahead of their search patterns. "Captain," the communications officer called out, "I am picking up something strange. It is a signal. Very old. Broadcasting on a frequency I have never seen before." Taemin leaned forward. "Can you locate the source?" "Yes, sir. It is coming from coordinates 719 by 432. That region appears empty on all our charts." "Set course," Taemin ordered. "Maximum stealth." The ship turned toward the mysterious signal. Hours passed as they traveled deeper into unknown space. The crew grew more nervous with every passing minute. They were now farther from friendly territory than any human ship had ever been. Jiwoo could not contain herself any longer. She stood and faced the captain directly. "Sir, I must insist. What are we doing here? What is so important that you risk this entire ship and crew?" The bridge fell silent. Every officer stopped their work to listen. They all wanted to know the same thing. Taemin studied Jiwoo for a long moment. Then he stood and walked to the main display. He pressed several buttons, and an image appeared. It showed ancient writing on a stone tablet, discovered 6 months ago on a distant human colony world. 3 years ago, the Dalveen attacked our colonies without warning. Taemin began. They killed millions. They killed. He paused, his voice catching slightly. They killed people we loved. We have been fighting them ever since, and thousands more die every day. The crew listened, transfixed. This tablet was found by archaeologists. It is written in a language older than both our species. It tells of a civilization that existed here long ago, before humans or Dalveen ever traveled the stars. Our scientists call them the architects. Dr. Bora, the ship's chief science officer, stepped forward. She was a small woman with sharp features and tired eyes. "The tablet is a map, Captain. A map to something the architects left behind." Taemin nodded. "I believe whatever they left behind can help us end this war. Not by destroying the Dalveen, but by showing both sides a truth we have forgotten." "What truth?" Jiwoo asked. "That we are not so different from them as we think." Corporal Donghyun, standing guard near the door, spoke up. "With respect, sir, they bombed our cities. They killed our families. How can you say we are alike? Because they say the same things about us," Taemin replied quietly. "Both sides believe the other is a monster. Both sides teach their children to hate. But what if there is proof that we are wrong? What if we could show that proof to everyone?" The crew exchanged glances. Some looked hopeful. Others looked doubtful. But all of them understood now why they were here. "We reach the coordinates in 2 hours," the helmsman reported. "Good," Taemin said. "All hands, prepare for whatever we find there. This may be the most important discovery in human history." The Indomitable continued through the darkness of space, alone and hunted, carrying the hopes of its captain and the fate of billions who did not even know this mission existed. In the Dalveen war room, new reports flooded in. The human ship had disappeared again. Vrelix's fury grew with each passing hour. He did not know what the humans were planning, but he would find out. And when he did, he would crush them. The Dalveen flagship's sovereign claw hung in space like a massive insect, bristling with weapons. Inside its war room, High Commander Vrelix slammed his clawed hand against the table. Around him, his officers flinched. 3 fleets, Vrelix hissed. "I have deployed 3 entire battle fleets. And still, this single human ship eludes us. Someone explain this to me." The intelligence officers looked at each other nervously. Nobody wanted to speak first. Finally, one brave soul stepped forward. "Commander, we believe the human vessel may be carrying a planet-killer weapon. Perhaps they plan to destroy one of our core worlds." "Then why do they move away from our core worlds?" Vrelix demanded. "Their course takes them toward the outer frontier. Toward nothing of value." Subcommander Rixol studied the tactical display thoughtfully. Unlike his commander, he did not rage. He analyzed. The human ship's path showed a clear pattern. It was not random. It was searching for something. "Commander," Rixol said carefully, "may I suggest a different theory? What if they are not running from us? What if they came here to find something specific?" Vrelix's eyes narrowed. "Find what?" "There is nothing in that region except dead worlds and empty space." "Exactly, Commander. Which is why nobody would think to look there for anything important." Vrelix considered this. His mandibles clicked slowly as he thought. "Continue tracking them. If they find whatever they seek, we will take it from them. and then we will destroy them. On the Indomitable, alarms suddenly blared. The crew jumped to battle stations. Captain Tae-min remained calm in his chair as reports flooded in. 3 Dalveen destroyers just dropped out of hyperspace, Ji-woo announced. They are directly ahead of us, blocking our path to the coordinates. Distance? Tae-min asked. 50,000 kilometers and closing. They are powering weapons. Dr. Bo-ra rushed onto the bridge, her tablet clutched in her hands. Captain, we are so close. The signal is getting stronger. Whatever the architects left behind, it is right there. She pointed at the main screen. Tae-min stood and walked to the display. His crew watched him, waiting for orders. To fight 3 destroyers would bring every Dalveen ship in the sector down on them. But to run now meant abandoning their mission. Captain? Ji-woo pressed. Your orders? Tae-min's eyes fixed on a region of space near their destination. It showed a massive nebula, glowing red and orange on the sensors. The nebula was marked as highly dangerous. Ships that entered rarely came out intact. The gravitational forces and ionized gases inside could tear a vessel apart. We go through the nebula, Tae-min said. The bridge fell silent. Then everyone started talking at once. Captain, that is suicide, the helmsman protested. Sir, our shields cannot handle those conditions, the chief engineer reported over the comm. Ji-woo stepped close to Tae-min. Captain, please, choose another way. We can loop around. Come back later. There is no later, Tae-min said quietly. More Dalveen ships arrive every hour. This is our only chance. He raised his voice so the whole bridge could hear. I know what I am asking. I know the risk. But I also know that if we succeed, we can save billions of lives, both human and Dalveen lives. That is worth the risk. I have a Clycie, because I with them, Corporal Dong-hyun, standing at his post, spoke up. The captain got us this far. I say, we trust him. Slowly, other crew members nodded. They were afraid, but they believed in their captain. All power to forward shields. Tae-min ordered. Helm, plot the safest course you can through that nebula. Engineering, give me everything you have. We are going in. The Indomitable turned toward the swirling red nebula. Behind them, the Dalveen destroyers accelerated, firing warning shots. The human ship ignored them and plunged into the glowing clouds. Immediately, everything went wrong. The ship shook violently as gravitational eddies grabbed at the hull. Alarms screamed from every station. Sparks flew from overloaded consoles. The lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency red lighting. Hull integrity dropping, someone shouted. Shields, at 40%. Port engine is overheating. Tae-min gripped the arms of his command chair as the ship bucked and twisted. Steady. Helm, follow your course. The helmsman's hands danced across the controls, making tiny corrections every second. One wrong move would send them tumbling into a gravity well, or directly into a gas pocket that would cook them alive. In engineering, Chief Kyung-soo ran from station to station, barking orders at his team. He was an older man, his face weathered and scarred from years of service. His gray hair was plastered to his forehead with sweat. Reroute power from life support to shields, he commanded. We only need to breathe for 5 minutes. We need shields for all 5 minutes. His engineers worked frantically, their hands moving almost too fast to see. Systems failed and were patched. Backup systems came online, just as primary systems died. It was a desperate race against time. On the bridge, Dr. Bo-ra clung to a railing as the ship shook. Captain, the signal is stronger. We are getting close to the source. How close? Tae-min demanded. Very close, maybe 200,000 kilometers past the nebula's edge. Then we keep going, Tae-min said through gritted teeth. Ji-woo pulled herself to her station and checked her displays. The Dalveen destroyers are not following us, They are holding position outside the nebula. Smart of them, Taemin muttered. The ship's shaking grew worse. A console exploded, throwing an officer backward. Medical teams rushed to help the wounded crewman. The smell of burning electronics filled the air. "Captain, we are losing hull plating," the damage control officer reported. "Sections 12 through 15 are venting atmosphere. Seal those sections and keep moving." On the Sovereign Claw, Rixel watched the human ship's signature fade into the nebula's interference. The destroyers reported they had lost contact with the vessel. "They will not survive in there," one officer said confidently, but Rixal was not so sure. Humans were unpredictable. They took risks that no sensible species would consider. It made them dangerous. He turned away from the display and walked to a private terminal. While Vrelix was busy coordinating the fleet, Rixal accessed the Dalveen Historical Archives. He entered search terms related to the frontier region where the human ship had been heading. Most results came back empty. But one file caught his attention. It was old, very old, and classified at the highest level. The file mentioned ancient ruins discovered in that region over 200 years ago. Ruins that predated both Dalveen and human civilizations. The file had been sealed by order of the High Council. Rixal's eyes widened as he read. The Dalveen leadership had found something and hidden it. Why? What could be so important that it needed to be kept secret for 2 centuries? On the Indomitable, the shaking suddenly stopped. Exhausted, but alive. "Damage report," Taemin ordered. "Hull breaches on 7 decks, sealed. Shields at 15%. Port engine is offline. We have lost 20% of our maneuvering thrusters," Jiwoo reported. "But we made it, Captain. We actually made it." Taemin allowed himself a small smile. "Dr. Bo-Ra, where is that signal?" Bo-Ra checked her instruments. Her eyes went wide. She pointed at the main screen. "There, Captain. Look." The screen showed a massive structure orbiting a dead gray planet. The structure was ancient, built from materials they did not recognize. It was enormous, easily the size of a small moon. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly in the darkness. "What is it?" Jiwoo whispered. "That," Taemin said softly, "is what we came here to find. That is the Architect's legacy, and it is going to change everything." The Indomitable drifted toward the ancient structure, her engines barely functioning. Captain Taemin stood before the main display, staring at the massive orbital platform. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Symbols he did not understand covered every surface, glowing with a soft blue light. "Scanning now," Dr. Bo-Ra said, her fingers flying across her console. "Captain, this structure is over 3 billion years old. The technology used to build it is far beyond anything we have ever seen. Even beyond Dalveen technology." "Amsa, can we dock with it?" Taemin asked. "There appears to be a docking port on the southern section. It looks compatible with our systems. Whoever built this wanted visitors, then let us visit. Helm, take us in slowly. Engineering, what is our status?" Chief Kyung-Soo's voice crackled over the comm. "Captain, we are held together with prayers and spare parts right now. The port engine is dead. The starboard engine is running at 40%. If we have to fight or run, we will not get far." Noted. "We need time to explore that structure. Buy us as much time as you can." "Aye, sir. We are already working miracles down here." As the ship limped toward the docking port, Jiwoo pulled up tactical displays. "Captain, I am detecting movement at the edge of the nebula. Dalveen ships are entering the gas clouds. They are following our path." "How many?" "At least 6 destroyers, maybe more behind them. They will be here in less than 2 hours." Taemin nodded. He had expected this. The Dalveen would not give up so easily. "We have 2 hours then. Make them count." "No." The Indomitable successfully docked with the ancient platform. Taemin assembled a small exploration team: Dr. Bo Ra, Ji Woo, Corporal Dong Hyun, and 2 other Marines. They equipped themselves with environment suits and weapons, not knowing what they might find inside. The airlock opened with a hiss. Inside the structure, lights flickered to life automatically, responding to their presence. The corridor before them stretched into the distance, its walls covered with more glowing symbols. Remarkable, Bora breathed. The systems are still active after billions of years. They moved forward cautiously. Dong Hyun and his Marines kept their weapons ready, watching for threats. But the corridors were empty and silent. Only the soft hum of ancient technology filled the air. After 10 minutes of walking, they reached a large circular chamber. At its center stood a pedestal, and floating above it was a sphere of pure light. The sphere pulsed gently, like a beating heart. "What is it?" Jiwoo asked. Bo-Ra approached the pedestal carefully. She pulled out a scanner and took readings. Her eyes widened. "Captain, this is a data repository. It contains information. Massive amounts of information. More data than we could read in 100 lifetimes. Can you access it?" "I think so. The interface seems designed to be simple. Give me a moment." Bo-Ra placed her hand near the sphere. It responded immediately, shooting out beams of light that formed images in the air around them. The images showed star systems, alien creatures, mathematical equations, and more. So much information, flooding toward them all at once. Then the images focused. They showed 2 creatures side by side. One looked remarkably human. The other looked like a Dalveen. Both were labeled with the same symbol. "What does that mean?" Dong Hyun asked. Bora's hands shook as she worked her scanner. "Captain, according to this data, both humans and Dalveen were created by the architects. Not directly. But we were seeded from the same genetic template billions of years ago. We are not alien to each other. We are related. Distant cousins." Silence filled the chamber. The implications were staggering. "Both our species have been killing each other," Jiwoo said slowly. "And we are family?" "That is what this data shows," Bo-Ra confirmed. The architects seeded life across the galaxy. They created dozens of intelligent species from related templates, hoping that one day we would all meet and work together. But instead, we fight. Taemin stood quietly, processing this information. This was what he had hoped to find. Proof that the war was meaningless. Proof that humans and Dalveen were not so different. "Copy everything you can," he ordered. "We need to get this information to both sides." On the Sovereign Claw, Subcommander Rixel made a decision that would change his life forever. He opened a secure communication channel, carefully routing it through multiple relays to hide its origin. Then he contacted the Indomitable directly. On the human ship's bridge, the communications officer jumped. "Captain Taemin, we are receiving a transmission. It is coming from a Dalveen ship." "Put it through," Taemin responded from inside the structure via his suit's comm. Rixel's insectoid face appeared on the screen. He looked nervous but determined. "Human Captain, my name is Subcommander Rixel of the Dalveen Empire. I wish to speak with you directly." Taemin stepped closer to the data sphere so the visual pickup on Bo-Ra's equipment could show him. "I am Captain Taemin. Why are you contacting me?" "Because I have discovered something in our archives, something my government has kept hidden for 200 years. We found ruins in this sector long ago, ruins that proved we are not the only ancient civilization to exist here. My leaders buried this information." Why would they do that? Fear, perhaps. Or pride. If we admitted another species was greater than us, it would damage our image of superiority. It is easier to hate humans when we believe we are naturally better than you. Taemin studied the alien commander. "I have found proof, Sub-Commander. Proof that your people and mine share a common origin. The architects created both our species." Rixel's eyes closed briefly. "Then it is true. I suspected as much from the fragments I read in the archives. Your fleet is coming here, Taemin said. What happens when they arrive? High Commander Vrelix will order your destruction. He is not a reasonable being. But I am. I command 3 of the 6 destroyers approaching your position. If you share what you have found, I will protect you from the others. You would turn against your own commander? I would end this war, Rixal said firmly. Too many have died on both sides. If this information can stop the killing, then yes, I will commit treason, if necessary. Back on the human border, Admiral Hai-Jin received an urgent message from Fleet Intelligence. The Indomitable had been detected deep in enemy territory. Captain Taemin was conducting an unauthorized mission and was likely to be killed. Hai-Jin stared at the report. She had trained Taemin herself years ago. She knew him better than most. If he had gone rogue, he had a very good reason. She opened a comm channel to her second-in-command. Prepare the fleet for immediate departure. We are going into Dalveen space. Admiral, that is an act of war. The war already exists, Hai-Jin said coldly. And I will not abandon one of our finest officers when he needs us most. Prepare the fleet. That is an order. In another part of the galaxy, a Dalveen civilian named Minister Velkara sat in her office, reading classified documents she had stolen from government servers. She was a member of the Dalveen Council, responsible for education and culture. She had opposed the war from the beginning, believing it was based on lies and propaganda. Now, looking at these documents, she knew she had been right. The government had found evidence of the architects decades before the war began. They had hidden it. They had manufactured hatred toward humans to justify military expansion and control. Velkara made copies of everything she found. Then she began sending the information to journalists, activists, and opposition leaders. If her government would not tell the truth, she would. On the ancient platform, Bo-Ra finished copying data. Captain, I have everything. We need to leave now. The Dalveen fleet will be here any moment. Taemin nodded. Back to the ship. Quickly, they ran through the corridors, the ancient lights fading behind them as they passed. By the time they reached the Indomitable, the Dalveen destroyers were emerging from the nebula. Taemin returned to the bridge and opened a channel to the approaching fleet. Dalveen vessels. This is Captain Taemin of the human ship Indomitable. We have discovered something here that concerns both our species. I ask for a ceasefire so we can discuss it. 3 of the destroyers slowed and held position. The other 3 accelerated, weapons powering up. Rixal had kept his word. Half the fleet was with him, but the other half wanted blood. The bridge of the Sovereign Claw erupted in chaos. High Commander Vrelix watched his tactical display in disbelief as 3 of his destroyers broke formation and positioned themselves between the human ship and his loyal forces. What is the meaning of this? Vrelix roared. Get me, Sub-Commander Rixal, immediately. Rixal's face appeared on the screen. He looked calm, almost peaceful. Commander, I cannot allow you to destroy that human ship. You dare defy me? I will have you executed for treason. Perhaps, Rixal said. But first you should see what they found. Before Vrelix could respond, Rixal transmitted the data Dr. Bo-Ra had collected. Images filled the screens throughout the Sovereign Claw. Dalveen officers stared in shock as they saw proof of the architects, proof of the genetic connection between their species and humanity. Lies, Vrelix hissed. Human deception. It is not lies, Commander. Our own archives confirm it. I have already sent you those files as well. Look at them. Our government has known this truth for 200 years and hid it from us. The officers around Vrelix began murmuring among themselves. Doubt spread like a disease through the command crew. Some looked angry. Others looked confused. All of them questioned everything they thought they knew. General Threx, commander of one of the loyal destroyers, cut into the channel. He was older than Vrelix, with scars covering his carapace from decades of fighting. This changes nothing. The humans are still our enemy. They have killed thousands of our people. And we have killed thousands of theirs, Rixel countered. When does it end, General? When both our species are extinct. It ends when we are victorious. There is no victory in genocide, General. Only extinction. On the Indomitable, Captain Taemin watched the Dalveen argument unfold. Ji-woo stood beside him, her hand hovering near the weapons controls. The ship could not win a fight in its damaged state, but they would defend themselves if necessary. Captain, I am detecting weapons charge on the 3 hostile destroyers, she reported. Hold fire unless they attack first. Sir, if they fire, we will not have time to react. I know. Hold fire anyway. Corporal Dong-hyun and his Marines stood ready at their stations, prepared to repel boarders if the Dalveen tried to take the ship. Their faces were grim but determined. In human space, Admiral Haejin's fleet jumped into hyperspace, racing toward Dalveen territory. She had mobilized 12 destroyers and 3 cruisers without authorization from Fleet Command. She knew this could end her career. But she did not care. Ma'am, we are receiving an urgent message from Admiral Sang-woo. Her communications officer reported. Haejin grimaced. Sang-woo was the head of the Joint Chiefs, and he would not be happy. Sang-woo's angry face filled her screen. Admiral Haejin, you are ordered to stand down immediately and return to base. You have no authorization for this action. With respect, Admiral, I am not returning. Captain Taemin and his crew need support. Captain Taemin is conducting an illegal mission. He will be court-martialed when he returns. Then I will stand beside him at his trial, Haejin said firmly. But I will not abandon him to die alone in enemy space. Haejin out. She cut the channel before Sang-woo could respond. Her officers looked at her with a mixture of respect and fear. They all knew what this meant. They were all committing career suicide together. Ma'am, what do we do when Admiral Sang-woo sends ships to stop us? The tactical officer asked. We outrun them, Haejin said simply. Plot the fastest course to Taemin's last known position. Maximum speed. On the Dalveen homeworld, chaos erupted as Minister Velkara's leaked documents spread across the information networks. Citizens gathered in the streets, demanding answers from their government. How long had their leaders known about the architects? Why had they hidden this information? How many had died in a war based on lies? The High Council met in emergency session. They tried to suppress the information, but it was too late. The truth was out, spreading faster than they could contain it. Velkara herself was arrested within hours of the leak being traced to her. As security forces led her away, she smiled. She had known this would happen, but she had also known it was worth it. Back at the ancient platform, the standoff continued. 3 Dalveen destroyers loyal to Rixol faced 3 destroyers loyal to General Threx. Between them floated the damaged Indomitable, carrying the information that could change the galaxy. This is your last warning, Rixol, Threx transmitted. Move aside, or be destroyed, along with the humans. I will not move, Rixol replied calmly. Threx's destroyer powered weapons to maximum. Then you leave me no choice. Wait. A new voice cut across the channels. It was High Commander Vrelix. He sounded different. Less angry. More uncertain. General Threx, hold your fire. Commander? I have reviewed the data, Vrelix said slowly. I have reviewed our own archives that Rixol sent me. It appears to be authentic. So what if it is authentic? Threx demanded. The humans are still our enemy. Are they? Vrelix asked. If we share a common origin, if the architects intended us to work together, then perhaps we are fighting the wrong war. You are weak, Vrelix. Weak and foolish. Perhaps, or perhaps, I am finally seeing clearly for the first time. Threx's response was to open fire. His destroyer launched missiles at Rixol's ship, but he did not fire only at the Dalveen vessels. He also fired at the ancient platform itself, trying to destroy the source of the troublesome information. Evasive action, Rixol shouted to his ships. The Indomitable's alarm screamed. Multiple missiles incoming. Jiwoo yelled. We cannot outrun them in our condition. Taemin gripped his chair. After everything they had accomplished, to die now seemed almost cruel. He had found the truth. He had shown it to both sides. And it still was not enough. Then Rixal's 3 destroyers moved. They positioned themselves between the missiles and the Indomitable, using their own hulls as shields. The missiles impacted against Dalveen shields, explosions lighting up the darkness. Why are they protecting us? Jiwoo asked in wonder. Because some of them still believe in doing the right thing, Taemin said quietly. Vrelix made his decision. All ships. Target General Threx's destroyer. I am ordering him relieved of command for attacking Allied vessels. Allied vessels? Threx laughed bitterly. Have you lost your mind? No, General. I have finally found it. The loyal Dalveen ships opened fire on Threx's forces. The space around the ancient platform lit up with weapons, fire, and explosions. Ships maneuvered and fired, shields flashing as they absorbed hits. Aboard the Indomitable, Chief Kyung-soo performed miracles in engineering. He rerouted every spare bit of power to shields, keeping the ship alive through the chaos. His team worked without rest, patching systems as quickly as they failed. On the bridge, Dr. Bo-Ra monitored the ancient platform. Captain, the structure is taking damage. If it is destroyed, we lose all that knowledge. Can we protect it? Not with our weapons offline. Taemin thought quickly. Then he opened a channel to Rixal. Subcommander, we need to protect the platform. Can your ships create a defensive perimeter? Already moving to do so, Captain. The battle raged for 15 minutes. Finally, Threx's destroyer took a critical hit to its engines. The ship began listing. Unable to maneuver, his 2 supporting destroyers, seeing the fight was lost, surrendered. But Threx himself was not done. His ship was dying, but it still had momentum. He aimed directly at the ancient platform and ordered maximum thrust. He is going to ram it, Jiwoo shouted. We have to stop him. But the Indomitable had no weapons, and Rixal's ships were out of position. Nothing could stop the destroyer from crashing into the platform and destroying billions of years of knowledge. Nothing except human ingenuity. Lieutenant Jiwoo's fingers flew across her console. Her mind raced, calculating angles and trajectories. Threx's crippled destroyer tumbled toward the ancient platform, and they had seconds to act. Captain, I have an idea, she called out. It is risky, but it might work. Do it, Taemin said without hesitation. Jiwoo opened a channel to Rixal's flagship. Sub-Commander, I need you to target our tractor beam emitter with yours. Right now. What? That makes no sense. Explain yourself. No time. Just do it. Rixal trusted the human officer. Locking onto your tractor beam. Ready. On my mark, fire your tractor at full power at the same time we fire ours at the destroyer. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Both ships activated their tractor beams simultaneously. The Indomitable's beam locked onto Threx's destroyer, while Rixal's beam locked onto the Indomitable's tractor emitter. The effect was like a chain, using the Dalveen ship's more powerful systems to amplify the damaged human beam. The combined force grabbed Threx's destroyer and pulled. The trajectory changed. The tumbling ship passed within meters of the platform's surface, missing it completely, and continued into the dead planet's atmosphere below. The bridge crew of the Indomitable cheered. Jiwoo slumped in her chair, exhausted but smiling. In the atmosphere of the dead world, General Threx watched his screens as his ship broke apart from the heat and pressure. He died believing he had served his species, never understanding that he had nearly destroyed their future. Captain Taemin stood slowly. Subcommander Rixal, I believe we should talk. In person. Agreed, Captain. I will come to your ship. No, Taemin said. We will meet on the platform. Neutral ground. Very well. An hour later, Taemin, Jiwoo, and Dr. Bo-Ra stood in the great chamber of the ancient platform. Both groups studied each other carefully. This was the first time humans and Dalveen had met peacefully since the war began. Rixal spoke first. "Captain Taemin, you have shown great courage coming here. Many of my people wanted you dead. Many of my people want the same for you," Taemin replied honestly. "But we are not here for them. We are here for the ones who want the killing to stop. The repository contains proof of our shared origin," Dr. Bo-Ra added. "It also contains technology that could advance both our civilizations by centuries. The architects left it here as a gift. They wanted their children to find it together. Instead, we fought over it," Rixal said sadly. "Or nearly destroyed it. We are not what they hoped we would become." "Not yet," Taemin said. "But we could be, if we choose to be." Rixal extended his hand, a gesture he had learned from studying human customs. Taemin stared at it for a moment, then reached out and grasped it. The handshake was awkward, their anatomies so different, but the meaning was clear. "I propose a ceasefire," Rixal said. "Immediate and unconditional. Both sides share access to this repository. We form a joint research team to study what the architects left behind. My government may not accept this," Taemin warned. "Neither may mine. But we do not need their permission to stop fighting. We can simply refuse to continue the war." Jiwoo stepped forward. "That is mutiny on both sides." "Yes," Rixal agreed. The next hours were a blur of activity. Taemin and Rixal worked together to draft a ceasefire agreement. They transmitted it to their respective governments, along with all the data from the repository. They made it public, sending it to every news network, every military frequency, every civilian channel they could access. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On both sides, people saw the evidence of their shared origins. They saw the senselessness of the war. Protests erupted on Dalveen worlds. Human colonies demanded their governments accept the ceasefire. Admiral He-jin's fleet arrived at the platform to find not a battle, but a historic moment. She stood on her bridge, tears streaming down her face, as she watched human and Dalveen ships working side by side to stabilize the ancient structure. She opened a channel to the indomitable. "Captain Taemin, this is Admiral He-jin. I came to rescue you. It appears you rescued all of us instead." Taemin smiled. "Thank you for coming, Admiral. Though I suspect we are both about to face court-martial for our actions. Perhaps. But it was worth it." On Earth, Admiral Sang-woo sat in his office, reading the reports. He had been prepared to arrest both Taemin and He-jin. He had been furious at their insubordination. But now, seeing what they had discovered, seeing the peace they had created, he understood. He drafted his letter of resignation. He had been a warrior too long. It was time for builders and teachers to lead humanity, not soldiers. On the Dalveen homeworld, High Commander Vrelix faced similar realizations. He had built his career on war. He had risen to power by defeating enemies. But there were no more enemies to defeat. Only cousins who had been lost and were now found again. He requested reassignment to diplomatic service. If he could not fight anymore, perhaps he could help build the peace. Minister Velkara was released from prison after the ceasefire was announced. The charges against her were quietly dropped. She was offered a position on the new Interstellar Council, a joint human Dalveen government body designed to prevent future conflicts. Months passed. The ceasefire held, evolving into a formal peace treaty. The ancient platform became the center for shared studies, where scientists from both species worked together to unlock the architect's secrets. Dr. Bo-Ra was appointed chief researcher. She spent her days translating ancient texts and marveling at technology that seemed like magic. Researcher In-young, a brilliant young linguist, joined her team and cracked the architect's complex language systems. Corporal Dong-hyun returned to his family, finally able to tell them the story of how he had helped prevent a war from destroying everything. His children listened with wide eyes, barely believing their father had been part of something so important. Chief Kyung-soo received a medal for keeping the Indomitable functional through impossible conditions. He hung it on his wall and went back to work, training the next generation of engineers. Both human and Dalveen students attended his classes now. Ji-woo was promoted to commander and became Taemin's executive officer permanently. Together they were assigned to the first joint exploration mission, tasked with finding more architect repositories across the galaxy. The Indomitable was fully repaired and upgraded with both human and Dalveen technology. She became the flagship of the new United Fleet, a symbol of cooperation between former enemies. 1 year after the mission that changed everything, Captain Taemin stood on the bridge of his ship, preparing to leave on a new voyage of discovery. Around him, his crew worked at their stations, humans and Dalveen, side by side, operating as one team. Sub-Commander Rixel had been assigned as his co-commander. They shared the responsibility and the honor of leading this mission into the unknown. "All systems ready, Captain," Ji-woo reported. "Excellent. Rixel." "All Dalveen personnel are prepared, Captain. We are ready to seek the next repository." Taemin nodded. He thought about the journey that had brought them here, the risks they had taken, the losses they had suffered, the discovery that had saved billions of lives. He thought about the architects and their message. They had seeded life across the galaxy, hoping their children would eventually unite. For billions of years, that hope had seemed lost. Species fought and killed each other, unable to see past their differences, but not anymore. Humans and Dalveen had proven it was possible. They had shown that peace was not weakness, and cooperation was not surrender. They had demonstrated that the things that united them were far stronger than the things that divided them. "Commander Ji-woo," Taemin said formally, "take us out. Let us see what wonders the architects left for us to find." "Yes, sir." Engaging hyperspace engines, the Indomitable and her escort ships jumped into hyperspace, disappearing in flashes of light. They traveled not as conquerors or warriors, but as explorers and students. Behind them, they left a galaxy slowly healing from years of war. Ahead of them lay infinite possibilities and countless discoveries. The war was over. The real work was just beginning. Humans and Dalveen would face the future together, as the architects had always intended, not as enemies separated by fear and hatred, but as family reunited after being lost for far too long. In the chamber on the ancient platform, the sphere of light pulsed gently, its data now shared freely with all who wished to learn. If the architects could see what their children had finally accomplished, they would be proud. The galaxy had changed. One ship, one crew, one impossible mission had rewritten the future. And it had all started with a simple question that had caused panic across an empire. Why would a human battleship cross into enemy lines? The answer, as it turned out, was the simplest and most profound truth of all. To bring everyone home.